Welcome to Basic Brewing Radio for Thursday, September 3rd, 2015. I'm James Spencer. Here at Basic Brewing Radio, we're all about home brewing. This week, homebrewer and homebrew legislation advocate Douglas Wawrzynski unveils the most ambitious split batch experiment of our 10-year history. All this in answer to my question of whether you can make a beer that enhances the flavor and tames the heat of the fearful Carolina Reaper pepper. If you're new to home brewing or would like to get into the hobby for the first time, check out our website, basicbrewing.com, where you can find archives of our audio and video podcasts and our DVDs to walk you through basic and more advanced brewing techniques. And if you buy any of our DVD combos, you get a free Basic Brewing bottle opener. You can follow me on Twitter. My username is Basic Brewing, all one word. Our show page on Facebook is at facebook.com/basicbrewing. We're on the Google Plus as well. Thanks again to everybody clicking on the Amazon.com associate link on our basicbrewing.com site. You know how it works. Whenever you think of Amazon shopping, think of us first and click on our associate link on basicbrewing.com. It won't cost you any extra. You won't notice any difference, but you'll be helping us to bring you this show, and we greatly appreciate your support. And some of your items might be mentioned at the end of this podcast. But you won't be mentioned because I don't know who bought what. Anyway, we have associate links for Brew Your Own Magazine and the American Homebrewers Association on our site as well. And thanks to everybody taking advantage of that offer from August of getting a free issue of, or a free copy of Designing Great Beers with your membership renewal or a new membership. Apparently that was pretty successful. People got that's a good book. You're going to enjoy that. You can find our Basic Brewing iPhone app on iTunes or Android app on Amazon.com. We have a Windows Phone app. We're on the BlackBerry Podcast Directory. We're on the Stitcher app as well. If you want to put a tip in our tip jar, some coinage in our virtual guitar case, you can go to basicbrewing.com/support. And thanks to everybody who's done so already. We're probably going to go over time this week, go a bit over my traditional self-imposed limit of an hour in this week's show because of the extent of the material, but it's worth it. There's a lot of great stuff. I do want to talk about the beer that I brewed this week, however, before we get into the show. There's a get-together on October 17th where I want to serve some homebrew, so I thought an Oktoberfest would do the trick. Being October, I know Oktoberfest in September, but but I've got less than 7 weeks to play with, which is tight for a lager, at least traditionally the way I do it. So I'm doing some things that I hope will hurry the process a bit and still give me a tasty lagery brew. And the most important, or the most interesting part to me, and maybe the most important, is that I'm fermenting a little warmer. If you'll remember from our San Diego Brewlosifer episode with Marshall Schott, we tasted 2 beers that were fermented with lager yeast. One was lagered traditionally and fermented colder, and the other was fermented at ale temperatures. And I couldn't tell the difference. I picked the wrong beer out of the triangle test. So, using that information, I'm fermenting my Oktoberfest in my kegerator at 60 degrees Fahrenheit, or 15.5 C, which is about 5 degrees Fahrenheit above the range for WLP 820 Oktoberfest yeast, which is recommended by White Labs on their website. So I'm splitting the difference between lager and ale fermentation temperatures, hoping that it will speed up the fermentation a bit, but not get the fruity esters that you might get with an ale. So I brewed on Monday, and Tuesday morning the beer was fermenting happily at 60 F or 15.5 C. And it still continues today as I'm recording this. So I'll keep you posted as I go along. I've been posting pics on Twitter and our Facebook page, and I'm enjoying the comments and discussion and questions, especially on Facebook. Some say it can't be done and get a true, quote-unquote, Oktoberfest, and some say they've brewed tasty lagers in less time. So stay tuned. I'm taking my own course here on this experiment. Of course, before we get to the interview, I have to brag on my electric brewing system from our sponsors, Desiree and Dave of High Gravity in Tulsa. I have the 240-volt, 10-gallon brew-in-a-bag system with a pump that you can see Stephen and me demonstrate at youtube.com/high-gravity-brew. It gets easier to use every time I brew with it. I just pour the brewing water in, turn on the recirculating pump, dial in my strike temperature, and walk away. And while I mill my grain and get all my various implements out, the high-gravity EBC SV controller hits the mark and keeps it steady. So after the system hits strike temperature, I dote in my grain, in this instance 10 pounds or 4.5 kilograms of Vienna malt. That's it. It's a smash. It's a smash Oktoberfest. I dialed in the mash temperature, hit the recirculating pump, and I'd walk away again. I even had time to go to the post office. Luckily, it's pretty close to the house. But I have found that doing brew in a bag, that if you stir the mash every 10 to 15 minutes, it helps with efficiency. It helps bring that up. And using a refractometer, you can monitor how that efficiency is coming along. And with this system, I simply move the lid aside on the kettle, and the spray nozzle keeps the lid from falling off. And meanwhile, it's still spraying, so I can stir the mash, and I can take a reading from the wort spraying over the mash. And then in this instance, 90 minutes seemed to be the magical time where the gain in efficiency leveled off. So once I took a couple of readings and didn't see much gain in efficiency, I stopped the mash and took out the grain and moved on quickly to the boil. So anyway, you can check out all the electric brewing systems from High Gravity at highgravitybrew.com. And while you're there, you can get flat rate shipping of $7.99 on ingredients and many other products. That's highgravitybrew.com. This is the last recording from this year's National Homebrewers Conference in San Diego, and it's probably my favorite. And that's saying a lot because all the stuff that we recorded there has been excellent. I'm just really happy with all the stuff that we recorded out there. A while back, Doug Wawrzynski heard me talk about tasting a bit of a Carolina Reaper pepper, and I wondered on the show whether anyone could capture the flavor of that pepper, because about 4 seconds after you chomp a little bit of that Carolina Reaper, it has a really fruity flavor, and then you're hit with this wave of heat that about blows your head off. So I wondered on the show whether anybody could capture that flavor and tame the heat of that incredibly hot pepper successfully in a beer. Well, that started the gears turning in Doug's head, and he decided he would try to use the numbing effect of Szechuan pepper to see if that helped strike a balance. So 11 beers later, split from a single batch, we have an excellent experiment. Doug Wawrzynski, welcome back to Basic Brewing Radio.
Good to be back on.
Good to see you in person.
Yes, absolutely.
And I have to brag on you. You're much less of a person than the last time I saw you. You've been doing some activity.
I have, yeah. I'm coming up on my 1 year anniversary of my receiving a Fitbit for Father's Day. And since then, it sort of tickled the right part of my brain that got me active, and I've dropped about 110 pounds.
Nice work.
Yeah, you look great.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
I look back. I look back. The first time we met was in GABF, and I don't remember what year it was.
2007, I think.
But you were this kind of pudgy kid with braces.
Yeah.
And now you're a fit, good-looking young man. So congratulations.
Thank
I mean,
you
you were
very much.
good-looking back then too. But what are we getting there? Oh, let's introduce the peanut gallery here. That we got. Sean Terrell from Mile High Brewing Company.
2 Mile Brewing Company.
2 Mile Brewing.
Yes.
Damn it.
Yes.
Sean Terrell
I like to
from.
poke a little fun at Denver when I can.
Okay, 2 Mile Brewing Company. I'm so sorry. And when are you open?
At this point, I would say 8 weeks is probably the over/under. Sometime in August, maybe September.
And Will Glaspie, formerly of Fayetteville, Arkansas, then formerly of Brooklyn, and now you're here.
Yeah, I'm here. I just started at 32 North Brewing Company up in Miramar. So if you're in San Diego, come see us.
Awesome. And Andy Sparks from thehomebrewery.com.
Oh, it's great to be here, James.
And Steve Wilkes from basicbrewing.com.
And always a pleasure.
Okay, now this is probably the most interesting and diverse split batch experiment that we've ever done. So start to explain the process.
Okay. Well, I will say that this does strain the definition of an experiment. But in the beginning, there was a brew pot, right? I mean, this is the process was really to see how many different flavor variations I could put together in a single brew day with the same wort. And so I started with a base beer that is basically a white rye pale ale. Definitely got the white cloudy factor to it, like a nice white ale, and it's got some hoppy character, dry hopped with Amarillo, and I wanted to see if I could get some differences between some yeast characters and making some additions with fruit and spices, and so we at the end of this whole process, I wound up with 12 different beers out of a single wort.
And so we're looking at this table with 12 beers, most of which are 9.3% alcohol in 22-ounce bombers. So I know where we're going to be for the rest of the day.
That's why I wanted you to bring your entourage. We've got to move through this. I don't want to have to bring it back. So.
Don't worry.
Okay, now you just poured the base beer, right?
Yes, yeah. So this is really one of the two base beers. It's this is the rye pale ale, and this one has the Y yeast French Saison strain,
which we tasted in a flight at the White Labs tasting room.
Oh yeah,
against the Belgian strain, right? And it's very nice. I like this beer quite a bit. It's got the juicy kind of hop character, but it's also got sort of the saison-y stuff going on.
Yeah.
It actually reminds me very much of a beer I made once. It's delicious. I really like it.
I think it also has a nice rye character, which you don't always pick up when people add rye to beers, but I think I can perceive it in this one.
Thank you.
Did you use malted rye in this?
I did.
Yeah, I can tell.
No showing off, Will. We know you're a better brewer than us.
I just said I like the beer.
Yeah, this is really well done. I would drink too much of this.
Yeah.
And you may have that opportunity. Yeah, it's very nice. It's it doesn't taste like it's 9.3% alcohol.
No, it does sneak up on you.
So I hate to rush through this, but we got many beers.
No, let's do it. So
okay, so what's the next step in the process?
The next step. So basically, once we went from a single wort, and I split it into two fermenters, and so half of went that French Saison Y yeast strain, and then the other half is really where the playground started. I went and did a healthy pitch of the Belle Saison dry yeast, and so the next sort of parallel base beer or sister base beer is the same wort now fermented with just the Belle Saison yeast. So really what we're going to experience, the distinction here is the difference between the Y yeast and the Belle Saison.
Did you see a difference in the performance of the yeast as far as the characteristics of the fermentation?
No, actually. They fermented very similarly, and they both finished out at 10.04.
Huh. Did you see any difference in the vigor of the fermentation or anything like that?
Not that I recall. I had put blow-off tubes on every one of the fermenters, and none of them needed it, actually. So, but they were in. I used ale pails for these, so I didn't get to see the fermentation. So all I can really tell you is that it didn't come shooting out.
Wait, this one has like a nice vanilla note that the other did not quite have, in the nose at least.
But there's some spiciness there as well. Head retention is head production and retention is.
These Dixie cups are helping us out.
Yeah, we're drinking little plastic cups.
It's very nice.
What do you think? You've got two hands, so you can do them side by side. What do you see as the differences?
Well, I found the first one to be more intensely aromatic with that kind of saison kind of character that I usually am looking for in a saison. The other one is a little less. I agree that it has some kind of interesting, kind of sweet aromatics, but I don't think it's as intense as the first one.
Macadamia nut. I don't know if that's just me, but yeah, in the nose, that was my first thought. This is not a yeast I've brewed with before.
There's a little bit of, would you say, phenolics in there?
It is a little more phenolic, I would say, yeah. Which a little earthiness to it, too, that the other one doesn't quite have.
Mm-hmm.
So would the phenolics be appropriate for the style, though?
Yeah, definitely.
I would say, I actually think that I would prefer this one.
Oh, interesting.
Second the bell.
The
Yeah,
second one.
I agree.
Huh?
Yeah.
To key off your comment about the phenolics, having listened to another episode of Basic Brewing Radio where there was a discussion about how, these saison yeast can perform under above average temperatures. So yeah, I during fermentation, maybe after the first couple of days when things weren't at their peak, I hit both of the fermenters with a heat belt and really let it get quite hot. So I deliberately got that fermentation temperature as high as I think I could safely do it to try and stress the yeast and get some of those characters out of the yeast.
And what stage did you do that?
It was still technically primary fermentation, but I would say I'd guess slightly after like peak kreuzen, because I didn't want to encourage essentially a blow off, but I wanted to let it do most of its work cleanly, and then towards the last few days of primary fermentation, let it rise up and get a little warmer.
Do you recall what your pitch temperature was, and then what temperature the brew belt brought it to?
So I pitched at 70, and I unfortunately I can't tell you what the temperature was because I just don't have that equipment. I did it all by touch. I'd plug it in for several hours and sort of feel the side of the fermenter, and then when I felt like it was as high as I was comfortable with, I'd pull the plug.
To me, the Y yeast is a little sweeter, but maybe that's the second one's it seems to be a little bit more carbonated, so maybe it's that. I don't know. Does anybody else get a little more sweetness on the first one?
I definitely taste the rye more in the Y yeast version, and yeah, I kind of just taste the underlying beer more, whereas the yeast is running the show a little more with the White Labs those White Labs, right? Belle Saison, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily sweeter, but the mouthfeel is certainly a little bit rounder in the Y yeast.
Mm. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, it wasn't White Labs. It was the Dan Star.
Dan Star.
Or the second one's a dry yeast. The first one was it White Labs or Y yeast?
Y yeast Smack Pack.
Okay.
French saison. Yeah.
All right. As we carry on, forgive any mistakes that we may. Doug is remaining sober, so. Doug's got places to go, so he's watching us drink these beers, and we have walked, so
I really
worry
enjoy
not.
the nose on the Dan Star version of it. So the aromatics coming off of it are really pleasant.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, it's more kind of saison-y, I guess you'd say.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the next step in the process?
All right. Well, so everything from here on out, for those listening at home and trying to do this without keeping notes, every other variation was born of the Belle Saison. So we're no longer talking about the Y yeast beer. We had that, and so that the base beer we just tried that has the Belle Saison dry yeast, it was the foundation of all these subsequent variations. And so with that, one of the ingredients that went into this was a vodka infusion with Szechuan peppercorns, which was another idea drawn from one of your shows. I was intrigued at the potential for the compound that provides some numbing capacity, and that becomes relevant when we get into some of the other additions that are at the tail end here. But so what we're going to taste now is just that Belle Saison yeast with a few milliliters of the infusion of the Szechuan peppercorn added at bottling. And so what you're going to taste now is going to be sort of that spiciness that comes from that Szechuan peppercorn. It is not heat. It's really more just like a cracked, pepper spice. And you'll develop a baseline for how sensitive you are to the numbing compound. I can say that I was extremely sensitive to it, and I felt like I was getting a numbing capacity that went down the back of my throat, and Sarah, when she was tasting this with me, had virtually no noticeable difference in her palate. So
Sarah's your lovely wife?
she is. She is my lovely wife, and she's made all this possible, right? I mean,
So how did you prepare the peppercorns into the infusion?
I crushed them, just rolled them out, kind of like you would do a steeping grain, and then put them in a ball jar with I think 400 milliliters of vodka, and let that set for I believe it was 7 days. And then I filtered it out, just strained out the peppercorns, and the infusion itself took on a really pretty red color. And then I bought a commercial beer and used a titrator to sort of establish what ratio was necessary. So I knew I was trying to be very careful to not wind up with a spice bomb or not undershoot it. So it was all calibrated with a Utah beer that I'm fond of.
Oh my goodness! Oh wow, that is quite an impact. I mean, I'll go first since I'm talking. The aroma to me is floral. It's kind of perfumey and floral.
Kind of a dirty word. Kind of a dirty word, but menthol. I haven't tasted it yet, but I don't know if anyone else is getting that in the aroma.
that as well.
Yeah, maybe with a little cedar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I agree with all that. It's very floral. It's got some menthol. It's got some cedar. You're out there trimming limbs off your trees. I can smell that. Yeah. Wow.
Is there any kind of juniper character along with that kind of cedar
in the flavor? Yeah. Mm-hmm. A sort of a not quite piney, but yeah, juniper is a good word for it.
Actually, it almost reminds me of like spruce beers I've had.
Mm.
It kind of has that fruitiness to it,
Yeah.
This is very nice.
I quite like this.
Yeah.
And it smells more differently than it tastes to me. In other words, so from the base beer that we had before, I think that the bouquet is more pronounced, different than the taste of the beer to my palate.
Yeah, I mean, the aroma just jumps right out at you, for sure.
I would not really describe it as peppery.
No,
honestly.
Yeah, not black peppery, certainly.
Yeah, not in the sense of any of the peppercorns we would cook with.
Yeah, and someone can certainly correct me at this point, but I don't think that a Szechuan peppercorn is a traditional peppercorn. Certainly doesn't look like one. Mm-hmm. They almost look like the heads of cloves, sort of spiky and red.
Oh, it's a tiny bit savory to me.
I really get that kind of what's the word I'm looking for? The numbing, sensation that you're talking about. It's like, I don't know, it's almost like at the dentist, when they put the topical, stuff on you. It's like coating my tongue.
Mm. Anybody else get numb, other than from 9.3% alcohol?
yeah, definitely on the top of my tongue. It's getting a little fuzzy.
Anybody need an EpiPen?
Yeah. Are there any allergies? Did you have them sign that thing?
Wait, where's that waiver?
You are an attorney.
Did a bee fly into the boil kettle?
Could you please send out for some happy family?
Yeah, exactly. We need some Thai food with this. That would be awesome. Yeah.
This is nice. This is
the
really
numbing
nice.
just hit me.
Yeah. It's strong.
That is odd. No.
Okay, I'm ready to drill.
Yeah, exactly.
So do we need like a 5-minute break before we start the next beer?
Oh, let's move on.
Okay.
Keep it coming.
All right. So now we're going to move in. We've established the numbing baseline, which is apparently pretty good. Now we're going to move into the fruits, right? So the next one is that Belle Saison base beer with a couple of pounds of pineapple, which was added to the secondary fermentation and just allowed to steep for it seems like a couple weeks. And so bear in mind this was what would be considered like a half of a normal batch. So I had a couple carboys, just a couple gallons of the beer aging on pineapple, and then the other fruit that we'll get to next.
Okay, so this is just So no peppercorns in this.
Nope.
Just the
pineapple.
fruit,
Just
just the pineapple. And again, this is a beer that had Amarillo hops, right?
Correct. It was heavy Amarillo hops in the brew kettle, and then actually it was dry hopped with an ounce of Amarillo hops as well before the fruit went in.
Almost like a vitamin, like almost a vitamin smell. Not unpleasant, but
Is it Flintstones
Yeah,
vitamin or?
That's vitamins, absolutely.
I'd say it's
Yep.
Centrum Silver. And you'll be familiar with that now that you're 50.
A couple different age brackets here.
Ouch.
Although, ideally, not anyone who's in the target market for Flintstones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
My mom won't let me have them anymore. I eat them all in one sitting.
Just tastes
But
too
you feel
good.
really good the next day.
Yeah, I mean things are going to start getting plenty weird here. So hopefully we've established that I did make a good beer at the beginning. And
No,
6
Yeah.
guys, a hotel room, 12 bombers. Things are going to get weird.
9.3.
We got mirrors on the walls. The nose is not nearly as strong as the peppercorn nose, I don't think.
No. But I can smell the pineapple big time.
Oh, yeah.
I definitely want to congratulate you on making the least nasty pineapple beer, mead, or anything else, wine that I've
Yeah.
ever tasted. I mean, this is still plenty drinkable.
Yeah, I'm sorry if we just talked about this while I was pouring. I missed it. Did you talk about how you handled the pineapple?
yeah, well, so I just got organic frozen pineapple and then thawed it, smashed it, and went in free floating, and then just racked off at the end.
You know, honestly, when I think about just tasting the straight beer, I don't really taste that much more. It doesn't taste that different from the straight beer. Like, I don't really taste the pineapple in there very much.
yeah, I tend to perceive the pineapple in the nose more than the taste.
Yeah.
You get the acidity, but of course, I did also just completely numb my mouth.
Yeah, I would like to try this again with a fresh palate because it's a really nice beer.
Yeah.
Well, there's plenty left
Yeah.
in the bottle, and we may be here. You might have to let us trust us to shut the door if you've got somewhere to go. But yeah, it's a very drinkable beer. And again, we don't know whether the Novocaine has taken away any of the yeast characteristics. Okay, I'm saving that part. What's next?
All right, so now I believe that's the peppercorns are going to come back into play. So the potential is, we're going to have a little bit of pineapple, and that kind of plays with the Amarillo character a little bit, and it also now we're going to have that peppercorn, and maybe that plays off a little bit of the spice and acidity from the pineapple. We'll see.
So this is the Belle Saison yeast with pineapple and the Szechuan peppercorn.
Correct.
If you're
Wow, that's super good. I'm still on the pineapple. I'm a little late to the game here. That's really nice.
Do you taste the pineapple? It's not a pineapple bomb to me, but do you taste the?
I do taste the pineapple all the way through, in the head and in my taste buds. Whatever that means.
If your taste buds aren't in your head.
Well, I just mean, I wanted to say in my
There's
mouth,
your
but
mouth,
then
man.
there were too many jokes that could come off that. So I was trying to avoid that.
By the end of club night, I'm pretty sure my taste buds were not in my head.
And cheers to the HA for putting on a wonderful conference this year. That actually, that setting may have been. I mean, this is the 10th one that you and I have been to, Steve, and I think that setting was my favorite for the professional night and the club night.
Absolutely, yeah.
I've only been to 5, but yeah, absolutely.
And I just smelled my microphone.
How'd it smell?
It smells like a beer.
Surprise, surprise.
The microphone smells like a beer. Somebody put bread in my jar. Say, man, what are you doing here? La 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 da.
All right, I thought I was Luke.
The name of that song should be "Everybody Sucks But Me." Did you ever notice that? Everybody's a sad, horrible person except for the guy playing the piano. Oh wow, the perfume is back on the nose. Those peppercorns.
Wow, this is terrific.
Mmm.
It's like a whole nother beer.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I want some Thai food right now.
No kidding.
This is delicious. Actually, yeah, I think the peppercorn aromatics really lift this beer up from the last one, which had a very subtle pineapple. I don't know that I perceive the pineapple as much in the aroma because of the aromatics of the peppercorns, but I like it better.
So, this has probably already been asked, but how much peppercorns would you use in a 5-gallon batch to arrive at this?
Ooh, I
If you can
have
just
no idea.
round that off.
So the 22-ounce bombers got a 7 milliliter addition at bottling,
I see. Okay.
and so I can tell you, I think I used like 4 ounces of the peppercorns in the infusion, and then got 400 milliliters of that infusion. And then I really, to try and dial in the amount or the flavor character, I really just titrated it at bottling. So,
Gotcha. Well, I asked because the flavor's just dead on for me. I mean, it's just right. It's not so strong that you're going, oh my God, what is the heck is this? Like the curry beer, and then again, it's not so weak that you're wondering why it was done. So,
Wow.
yeah.
I'm keeping all mine, by the way. I'm not drinking all of my
Not me.
sample.
I'm plowing through them.
And it's good that you're sitting on a bed. You can just
Yes.
lie back.
Andy keeps taking mine away. I think he's drinking them.
Well, you only have two hands. And
This is a really interesting experience. I can feel the peppercorn sort of handicapping my palate.
yeah.
And I'm
Honestly,
trying to pull other things out
I'm
of
in
this.
love with the
and-
way that peppercorn tastes and the way it smells, but I don't know if I would use it because of that. I mean, it is really strong. That numbing.
Yeah, for me personally, I would dial it down a little bit. I will be interesting. I think I understand the thesis a little better now.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what happened when we introduced the chili.
Without
Yeah.
spoilers. Without
Yeah.
spoilers, there's a reason why it's so numb. But it's that's. Yeah, and there is a the numbing to me contributes to. Somebody said menthol.
Yeah.
The numbing, I've gone errant in my past, and I might have had a menthol cigarette.
Well, you were cool.
But that cooling effect, that numbing effect, that kind of goes along with it.
Cool.
I don't know. So
No.
should we switch to the other fruit, or do we want to run through the whole pile?
We can either finish the flight, which I is
Okay.
fine.
Well, you're driving the boat.
Okay,
You're
well,
the
let's
only
finish.
one sober enough to drive the boat at this point. So.
Let's finish the pineapple
Yeah.
flight, and we're getting into the meat of the matter now. So this beer is the pineapple Belle Saison, but it has what is innocently dubbed a chili pepper infusion. But the selection of the chili pepper is what makes this particularly exciting. Again, in response to something that you mentioned in passing in one of your shows, you were curious to try a Carolina Reaper beer someday, and that day is today, my friend. That beer has
watch what you say.
Yeah. Get the video ready for Steve. Hiccups may ensue.
Oh no.
Oh, so okay. Carolina Reaper it's even hotter than the ghost pepper. I think it's like 2.5 million Scoville units or something. We were tasting it, at a size. I took a chunk with no seeds or anything, and the size of that chunk was like half the size of my pinky fingernail.
Yeah.
And it lit my head up. I mean, sweating,
It was
and
fun.
but But there was a good flavor at the start of it before all the autonomic systems started to shut down on my body. It was a really good pepper
great.
flavor.
I love the flavor of it.
Yeah. And then 4 seconds later, you were like wishing you hadn't eaten it. So here we go. It's being passed out. So
I have a friend who has a. Oh, I'm sorry. I have a friend who has a ghost chili plant, and there's just no flavor to those at all. It's all capsaicin.
Huh. So
not a pleasant ingredient to cook with or anything like that.
So how did you treat the Carolina Reaper?
Very carefully, outside, gloves and eye protection.
Can you just go buy this at the store, or do you know a guy in Mexico, or what is the deal?
I used one of the websites. So the Carolina Reaper is actually like intellectual property to a fella out there somewhere, and so only certain places have a license to grow and sell these, and it comes with a caveat that you're not allowed to resell them. So I ordered them online. I got dried pods because they were out of season, and I crushed them with a mortar and pestle and put them in a ball jar, hit them with a couple 100 milliliters of vodka, and then did the same infusion for about a week. That also took on a very pretty red color, and I tried very carefully to titrate of just enough. And so, for example, the Szechuan peppercorn required a 7 milliliter infusion for every bottle to get the noticeable character. This took less than 3 milliliters per 22 ounce bottle. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's a fairly small percentage, and I mean, at least I felt like it was a pretty significant impact.
So this is pineapple and the chilies?
Yes.
And no peppercorns?
Correct.
Okay.
I think it also has a nice kind of additional fruity note that the plain pineapple didn't have. I haven't tasted it yet. I'm a little scared. But yeah, it's not as pronounced as the Szechuan peppers, which really gave us a lot more kind of floral stuff.
It's very floral.
That's hot.
Have you tasted it?
Yeah. I mean, it's not knocking me down hot, but it's hot.
Well,
but that's not fun for me.
I like chili beers, obviously. And after as much of the numbing effect as we've had with the Szechuan peppercorns, this is almost a palate cleanser.
Yeah.
It's kind of taking that back a little bit, and I almost feel like restoring my palate.
I'm with Sean. Yeah, this is good.
It's hot.
It's hot. That's hot. That's hot.
Is it?
God.
Is it as hot as the? I mean, you're able to. It's not as hot as the ghost pepper jelly that you're on.
Oh, good Lord, no! Hell is not that hot. I mean, yes.
About 45 seconds once in the 80s.
Yeah.
But it's hot.
Yeah.
But it's a tasty beer.
It's not.
It's
not
but
hot.
but
it's
to
warm.
me.
It's Mexican restaurant warm. It's not hot.
On the Thai food scale of 1 to 10 that we had last night, like for instance, at the Thai food place, the Antique Thai, which we went last night in San Diego, and I love that place. It's wonderful. You had a 7 out of 10.
Right. But I added a lot more of they had some interesting little side sauces that I juiced it up to. So I'm going to say I juiced it up to a 9 or 10.
And how does this compare?
This to me is about a 5 or 6.
I had the 5, and this is a little hotter than the 5.
Hotter than that to you? Yeah.
I was not at that particular Thai restaurant, but yeah, 5 or 6 on the chili spectrum. Yeah.
So not uncomfortably hot, but it's noticeably hot. I mean, there's stuff going on there.
So I mean, you could make an argument that that this is hotter than it needs to be for the beer, but the thesis was, as we're getting to it now, whether or not the Szechuan peppercorns and their numbing capacity would have a dilutive, a numbing effect that would allow you to get past some of the capsaicin to perhaps get more of the chili pepper's true flavor that was there, that people characterize as being somewhat fruity.
So are the peppercorns in this as well?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
That is just that you're establishing the heat level on
Just
that
heat.
one.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
it's pineapple and chili pepper.
Although we have some residual effect of the numbing because of the couple first beers.
Not
right?
enough.
Right. And from a different perspective, you guys both really like hot food. I happen to know that, and I'm not on that. I like stuff that I like to break a sweat when I eat Thai food, but I don't really like to burn. And for me, this kind of scares me. If I was a little sip, all right, it's right there. But if I'm afraid to drink the whole glass because I'm afraid it would just build and build and build and really be too much for me personally.
Yeah, for me, it's I think you got the level just about right to where it doesn't do that. It is very piquant across the palate, but it doesn't build and build and build afterwards. It's kind of, and maybe that's already some of the numbing effect kicking in.
Do we taste? Did the chili pepper kill the pineapple?
No, but radio killed a video star.
I do think it totally overwhelmed the pineapple in
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
particular beer.
Yeah, I don't know. There may be some pineapple still left in there, and then of course the saison character. Those phenolics and all the fun stuff from the saison is completely overwhelmed on my palate.
Mm-hmm.
Now
I would like to mention that I have a small cut on my lip that's feeling really great right about now.
So you won't have to go to the free clinic later on.
Yeah, it's been cauterized. All right, so now this is the last in this little flight.
Right, and so this is, is the thesis about Szechuan peppercorns true or not? Does compared to the beer that everyone just had, what does the Szechuan peppercorn do for the flavor experience, if anything?
So the same amount of pineapple, the same amount of chili pepper, and then the peppercorn. And again, the aroma is that floral, perfumey stuff going on.
I will say, judging from some of the reactions we've had for the pepper, I deliberately did not try to make something that was like a chemical weapon against the Basic Brewing Radio crew. I mean, there's a divisive opinions on here. There we've got a couple of people that seem to like it, and
The chili.
yeah, the chili.
Not the peppercorn.
Right. Sorry.
This is wonderful. I really like this a lot. I will say that I probably could not drink a pint of this.
Right.
I mean, if I was going to brew this to serve to other people, I might dial it back in half exactly.
Yeah.
Like half of everything back, and you'd have a really drinkable beer. But the flavor of this beer is just remarkable, and I quite enjoy this. I can't wait to get to the second flight.
Is the peppercorn? Is the thesis correct? Is the numbing of the peppercorn having an effect?
I'm so numb I can't feel my mortgage. I don't know.
I'm renting. What is that?
We call Steve Mr. Non Sequitur for a certain reason. Will?
Yeah, it is true that the numbing effect makes it feel less like you hate me. It's true the numbing effect takes some of the heat away, but it's not like desensitizing yourself to that heat allows you to taste other chili flavors. I'm just not getting any secondary chili flavors. I'm just getting only hate.
Yeah, and I think the truth is, people do have different levels of sensitivity to heat. James, you can eat lava, I think, and it'll be fine. But for me,
The soap.
for me, it still seems just as hot and just as just as scary to me. I don't think I can finish this. Right?
No, I disagree 180 degrees, actually. For my palate, I think that it absolutely did what you were going for. And I'm picking out the pineapple in particular I can taste in this one where I could not in the chili-only beer. And, I think I would drink a pint of this and order a second.
Huh. Well, as the tiebreaker, I'm going to say that it's still hot to me. The numbing reaction, and maybe it will come secondarily like it did before. For me, the peppercorn numbing came after I stopped drinking it. So maybe this would help in the after effect of, one thing that I don't like about eating hot food is that when you get it too hot, it takes a little while to recover, and you're coming down from that heat. So maybe if the peppercorn could help in that recovery phase of, getting your senses back and stopping crying. But that being said, I like hot food, and the peppercorn flavor adds to that heat to me of that we got with the chili beer before.
But I'm with Sean. I get the pineapple back now. So I don't. Yeah, that's crazy. It softened the beer. The Szechuan peppercorns coming back into the Reaper beer softened it, and it's more drinkable for me.
Now I'm starting to cough.
Luckily, no pathogens.
That's from the menthols.
Yeah, no, that's right.
I will say my sinuses have opened up greatly, so I'll be able to smell everything better for the rest of the night.
I think we all need forehead towels. Phew.
Well, all right.
So what do you think, Doug?
I think that I would agree that having a whole pint of the chili pepper beer without the numbing sensation was challenging. I made sure I drank it. It was consumable before I served it to others, and I sat down and I poured myself a full glass of it, and so I worked my way through it, and it does it takes some effort to get all the way to the bottom of the hot beer. Because it does sort of have, as eating chili peppers does, it has a sort of a cumulative effect. And so the more of it you're having it, the more your palate is basically overtaken by the chili pepper. And so for my part, I actually, when I went and tried the chili pepper edition with the Szechuan peppercorn, I did that a couple days later, and I was actually able to sort of coast more smoothly through the pint. I felt like the cumulative effect was perhaps more subdued. I won't say gone, but and so like you said with the delay, I think that the first couple of sips you're not getting the numbing effect, but as that sort of builds in the palate, I think that sort of overcomes some portion of that cumulative heat, and so it felt like less of a chore to get through the whole pint.
My lips are burning. So why don't we, before we get into the second flight, why don't we take a break and we get some water and maybe some pretzel crisps or something to reset, and then we can come back and talk about the second flight. But man, what a fun thing!
Oh, this is wonderful. This is great.
We'll be right back.
And you will have a lot to drink.
So much for that.
We're taking the trolley downtown. All right, calm down.
Okay.
They can't know that we've been drinking beer.
They won't know.
All right, Doug.
My mom's coming.
First of all, this question: you've had no beer during all this. Has this experience of watching us taste this second round, has it been annoying or entertaining?
It's been highly entertaining.
I'm convinced.
Why is both not an option?
This was a very highly illuminating intermission, and if you've ever sat and listened to Basic Brewing Radio and wondered if anything interesting happened during the cutaways in these episodes, I highly recommend trying to be a part of one, because this was a lot of fun already. But we also established something in the interim, actually. A couple times during the first part of this podcast, I've referenced that how much of this experiment or process was drawn from little snippets of other episodes of Basic Brewing Radio. And I cited there was this Brewing with Chili Beers episode where we talked about using a vodka infusion, and that's a good way to control the level of heat, and I couldn't remember who was on that episode. As it turns out, it was Sean, and he's here. And so I find it profoundly satisfying that this crew that's here sampling the beer includes everyone from the crew and Sean, who actually had a part in inspiring this process. So
it's kind of an inbred process. So
so we are from Arkansas.
Hi-oh. All right. So. Okay, now, first of all, we must mention that we noticed that these little plastic cups that we were using And we don't know why, the scientific reason why, but I'm sure that someone will tell us why. But
Sean knows.
Well, Sean thought he knew, and then he looked it up. So.
Oh no, I would. Yeah, these plastic cups are coated with carboxylate is the ion that's responsible, and it's actually one of the ions that's used to make soaps, and so obviously it makes a lot of foam, and they do that to make the cups sterile, essentially. It's just a relatively inexpensive way in the plasticizing process to make a sterile plastic vessel. And so when you pour beer into that, obviously you're going to get that soap effect. It's going to foam a lot. And so we've all noticed sitting here, and I'm sure anyone who's ever been to a frat party has noticed if you rinse your plastic cup out with water, you don't get that.
Yeah, so the first round we were pouring these cups full of beer, and they would foam up right away. The benefit of that was the aroma that was released was really nice. So it's kind of anti-firm cap S. It's an anti-surfactant. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not a chemist. I know you can. You have a plastic chemist on speed dial, so if we really needed an answer to that, we could get one. But the effect is that, yeah.
So essentially, you may want to do some experimentation if you find yourself using store-bought little plastic cups. You might want to experiment in pouring beer in them straight out of the package and then rinsing to see if you get the effect that you want. Anyway,
but in this application, it seems that the foaming effect helped the sensory analysis. So.
Exactly, because it put that aroma right in your nose. So okay, we have tasted the second round. We decided that that you guys out in the world are familiar with the process, and so the second round was with peaches. Mm-hmm. And so, how did you treat the peaches?
So again, both of these beers were made in the winter, or at the end of winter. So I didn't have access to good fresh fruit. So I just sourced, in this case, again, frozen peaches from the grocery store, made sure they're organic, read the bags, and made sure there wasn't any preservatives or anything to stabilize it, and thawed it. Just gave it a couple of whacks to try and break up the peaches, but not, as we discussed off camera earlier, phone. I didn't want to blend the peaches because I didn't want to lose a huge amount of volume due to that pulp factor. So that may have played into what kind of efficiency extraction, if I can use that term, to try and get the flavor of the peaches out. But in the end, it helped me maximize my volume that came out.
So we. So first of all, I guess let's talk about the base beer, the base peach beer. And then we'll talk about the effect of the added ingredients. So what did you guys think of just the beer with peaches?
Yeah, again, kind of like the pineapple. It was just very subtle. If I hadn't had the original beer, I'm not sure I would really taste peach or know that it was in there. It came off almost as a light ester.
I liked it. I thought I could taste the peach. I thought maybe if you boosted the acid slightly, we might have got a little brighter peach flavor out of it. It was nice.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It was not nearly as evident that there was a peach beer as opposed to the pineapple.
Yeah, and I guess Andy or Will, you guys said that the pineapple did have kind of an acidic character, and that might have helped in the balance of that.
Yeah, the lack of acid in the peach beer was evident. I wanted it to pop more.
And we must say that we've gone through all the beers in the flight, and as brewers, I think that we must say that this is proof that Doug is a good brewer, because, very well done. It was a challenging process and innovative techniques that he used, and all the beers, there were no defects. There was nothing. I mean, we could argue that the heat in the pepper beers, was too hot, but it's an experiment about heat and suppression of heat, and therefore that's appropriate. So, excellent job, Doug.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
There you go. So, did we see on this round? Did we see kind of a mirroring of what happened in the first round with the fruit, and then the heat, and then the peppercorns, and all that? Did we see anything different from the first flight? We'll start with you, Sean.
I felt like the peach flight were all more similar to one another than the pineapple flight were. I think that might be a pH thing, like Steve was alluding to. Just for whatever reason, it doesn't make the differences pop quite as much.
Right. Yeah, as I've already kind of proven, I'm kind of a wimp when it comes to heat, and I really found the peach with the Szechuan peppercorns to be really pretty delightful. That little perfumey note really kind of accented the peach better. I was really, really happy there. When we moved on from there, I got a little less happy.
Yeah, I think the pineapple flight, everything was just more intense. I don't know if that's palate fatigue. I don't know if that's acid contribution, just kind of taking every other flavor and running with it. Yep. But yeah, I just everything just came across probably about 20% more intense in the pineapple flight.
Yeah, I'm with Will. Everything, it's like by the time we got to the peach flight, I was, been there, done that. The pineapple flight was just more intense. By the time we rested a moment and then went on to the peaches, it was good. It's great beers, but it was just so much more subdued.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the fruit contributed definitely to the characteristics. But so the thesis. I'll be here all week. The hypothesis was that the Szechuan peppercorns would mute the heat, and I think are we still divided on that? In the second round, did you get the muting of the heat or the not muting of the heat? Did the second round change your opinion?
I'll agree it diminished the sensation of heat, but not hugely.
Right. Probably not enough to do what I think we were trying to do, which was let the base beer and the fruit flavors kind of bring them up and not be overwhelmed by everything. But for me, they were all really spicy.
For me, in the pineapple flight, I would say absolutely. In the peaches, not quite as much, but yeah, I think the effect was there.
I think they were all good beers. I mean, good as in no detectable defects. We did, in another episode that you may or may not have heard, depending on when I post these, we had the habanero mead.
Yes.
From, and I'm not going to remember his name, who came up, the father of the delightfully noisy children.
Yes.
At the pool, came up and gave us a habanero mead.
Yeah.
And I really got the flavor of the pepper, along with a little bit of heat at the back.
That was a hell of a good mead.
It was very good.
Yeah, it was good.
In this, I don't know that I got I got pepper flavor. I got heat.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I got pepper flavor.
Well, in terms of ever wanting to redesign this, to try it again, because of the time of year that we were doing this, I had to work with dried Carolina Reaper pods and wasn't able to dissect them, perhaps the way that could take away some of the heat, and that I couldn't crack it open and remove the seeds and was the pith? I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah, the little veins.
Yeah.
Yes, pith.
Yeah, and so that all had to go in, and then it added to the heat. So, but perhaps philosophically, well, as a Carolina Reaper beer, and to do honor to the insanely hot pepper, it got insanely hot. But perhaps dissecting a fresh version of the fruit would give you a better, more subtle fruit character.
And we may be able to hook you up with something. We know somebody.
Oh boy, do we ever! Who grows these things? But
we didn't really talk about dried chilies when we were talking about chili beers on the podcast, but you can, with most varieties, and I've never worked with a Carolina Reaper, but you can generally snap off the stem and sort of roll it between your hands and work the seeds out.
With the gloves.
Unless you're me and you don't care, yeah.
Don't if you do it without gloves, don't touch other sensitive body parts without washing your hands thoroughly, and even then it might be a problem.
Or your partner's sensitive body parts.
Well, yeah, more importantly, there you go. Hi-oh.
So my takeaway, I think, is that I really liked the character that the Szechuan peppers brought to the beer, and I actually kind of enjoyed some of the numbing effect, and I'm wondering if I dialed it down just slightly, it's kind of interesting. They both give you this kind of physical effect that you feel in your mouth. The one is super hot, right? Or, I mean, that kind of piquant. And the other was this kind of tingly sensation that wasn't necessarily unpleasant. So I'm looking to maybe use some of the Szechuan peppercorns in a beer soon.
Now that we're just kind of playing around, I just blended 50-50 the peach and pineapple pepper plus peppercorn beers, and that is right down the middle the best beer of this flight.
Well, Douglas Wawrzynski, you have succeeded in coming up with the most elaborate split batch experiment on the show, I believe.
Awesome. That makes sense.
Yeah, and we have made some discoveries, and I think that it's legitimate to use any of these ingredients just in the proper proportions.
Yeah, and we cracked open a lot of bottles here. You guys plowed through it. You're like champs. This is awesome.
But there's a lot left. We must have to.
Most of the bottles are about 2/3 full still.
Well, yeah, but it was a pretty involved, sensory experience, and so palate fatigue aside and all that, it was good. I appreciate all the thoughtful feedback on all of these various beers, and that's kind of that's a chore trying to judge all these different beers and help me understand how well these flavors played. So I appreciate everyone's time.
Well, and it's been wonderful. This is the last of 7 or 8, I can't remember, shows that we've recorded while we've been here, and I can't believe how lucky we are to have access to such talented brewers who know what they're doing, and then know how to express what they're doing, and then now know how to evaluate things and to come up with content that I hope is entertaining and compelling. And I want to thank you guys. Appreciate it very much, and thank you, Doug, for being the brewer.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Woo!
Yay! Great show. That's a wrap. We're going to be doing a Murphy Brown later.
Well, thanks again to Doug for the excellent experiment and the wonderful beers. And thanks again, of course, to Steve, Andy, Sean, and Will. I hadn't listened to that recording since the day that we recorded it. And when I was editing the audio this week, I really had a lot of fun hearing it again. What a great group of smart and fun guys. And I wish I had more of those beers. And I'm looking forward to next year in Baltimore. If you're going to be in Baltimore at the National Homebrewers Conference in June, and you're in that area and you want to share an experiment, get together with me and let's coordinate. I just love getting together and doing these kinds of things. You learn a lot of stuff, and you have some tasty beers, and you have the camaraderie. In the meantime, if you have brewing questions, show suggestions, or just want to say howdy, write to James at basicbrewing.com, or just fill out the contact form on basicbrewing.com, and please don't forget to tell us where you're from. You can check out our support link where you can throw a couple of bucks into the tip jar by subscribing financially to our podcasts. Be sure to check out our DVDs, Extract Brewing and Partial Mashing, Stepping into All Grain, Low-Tech Lagering and Decoction Mashing, and Introduction to Wine Kits. You can find them all on our site. You can get a free Basic Brewing bottle opener with any DVD combo. And you can check out our Basic Brewing shirts in the store as well. You can see a listing of the fine folks across the country who sell our DVDs on basicbrewing.com, and if there isn't a vendor in your area, you can order them online in our online shop at basicbrewingshop.com. Thanks to everybody who's continued to click on our Amazon.com link. We appreciate the support there. Our featured products this week that were purchased through the link are Martha White Quick and Easy Cheese Garlic Biscuit Mix, 7-ounce pouch, pack of 6. And Now I'm hungry for biscuits. And Coleman 15 by 15 feet all-day dome shelter. Thanks again, everybody. And remember, I can't tell who bought what, so no worries there. Just click on our Amazon.com logo on our site. The next time you feel like Amazon shopping, we greatly appreciate your support. Don't forget, you can also join the American Homebrewers Association and subscribe to Brew Your Own magazine through the associate links on basicbrewing.com. That's all until next time. Until then, thanks for listening, everybody. I'm James Spencer. Production help for Basic Brewing Radio and our website is provided by Kelly Dodson. Basic Brewing Radio is a production of Active Voicing. We'll talk to you next time, everybody. So long.